compared to I know I made a promise that I was going to come live, yeah, at 3 o'clock, but I'm an hour late. I really apologize for that. Yeah, no excuses, of course. Yes, I was doing a night shift yesterday, but nonetheless, I came home a bit late, so I've not been able to. I couldn't come on live, yeah, quite early as promised. Yes, but without further ado, you're welcome. If you're joining this channel for the first time, thank you so much for clicking. Please stay tuned, and I really want to have a one-on-one conversation with you all concerning language learning. Yes, in this channel I talk about nursing, lifestyle in Finland, and everything in between. Yeah, so today we'll be talking about languages. I know there are a lot of you out there who are interested to learn languages, so yeah, join me on this live today. Let's talk about that. Yeah, so I'm waiting. So let's just see. Hopefully we'll get people to join us quite soon. Hello, good afternoon, wherever you're watching from. I see you. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, so if you are there and you can hear me quite clearly, can you just please write in the chat what language you are currently learning? Are you learning any language at the moment? And if yes, kindly share with me what language that is so we can talk about it. Yeah. So, well, for me personally, I do speak Finnish, Swedish, Russian, English, and a little bit of French. Yeah, because of course my French, I haven't been using it for quite a long time. So yeah, with that regards, I can't really boast of my French as much. But of course, with other languages like Finnish, Swedish, English, and Russian, yeah, those are the ones that I'm quite fluent in. So I would like to know what language you are talking about. I can type this as well. Maybe I should draw this a little bit. Yeah, I'll be back shortly. Okay, yes, I'm back. Hello, greetings to you guys. How are you doing? Can you please send a message in the chat box so I can see you or get to know you? Yeah, so when it comes to language learning, I want to say, what do you think is the reason why people learn languages? I believe, yeah, a lot of people have different reasons for learning languages, right? It could be you're learning a language due to maybe for studies purpose or for traveling purpose. So what are your reasons? Why do you think you would want to learn a foreign language? I would like to know that before I give my own personal reasons. Yeah, so for me personally, I started learning a foreign language. That was firstly because of education. Yeah, so I had to learn this language because it was what was needed for me to go into the university. And I tell you, it wasn't an easy journey, but now looking back, I'm really grateful for that opportunity that I was able to learn a foreign language. And from that first experience, it really kind of gave me a boost that now, after that, I have learned two other foreign languages, and I'm still looking forward to learn more. So there could be a reason, your reason for studying a new language could be maybe because you want to pass an exam, or you want to travel to a new country, or you just love languages, right? And you want to just interact with people. Let's say, for example, if you want to learn Spanish, right? If you're interested to learn Spanish, why would you? Because most people would want to learn Spanish mostly for travel purpose. Personally, if I want to study Spanish, I would want to do that for travel purposes, because yes, I want to be able to communicate with people. I don't just want to, like, you go to a certain country and then you stay there and, like, okay, they are talking to you, you always have to use Google Translate and all of that. Of course, Google Translate is very okay, but I personally want to at least learn the basics of any language, because it just gives you that natural feel of the language itself. So currently I'm in Finland, and what are some of the things that would make people want to learn Finnish language? Firstly, I would say that it is education, because here in Finland we have a lot of international students, yeah, and they come to Finland for this purpose, right? And then afterwards you have to get into the work life, and getting into the work life, you need the language like 90% of the time. Yeah, of course there are a few sectors where you don't really need the language, but here in Finland you definitely need the Finnish language or the Swedish language. So for most people, international students who come, some people can decide to study Finnish, some people can decide to study Swedish. That's depending on your preference or how fast you can assimilate a language. For me personally, I was able to learn both Finnish and Swedish, yeah, because I learned Swedish in a more passive way, and then Finnish in a more active way, because Finnish, I had to be more concentrative in able to be able to learn it, but Swedish came almost naturally because it sounds almost like English language. Yeah. So I'll still throw the question again back to you guys. If you're watching, please make sure to engage with me in the comments, because let it not just be like I'm just talking to myself. Yes, let's have a chat. Let's communicate about this. Just hold on a minute, please. Hey everyone. Good to see you. What's happening here? Yeah, so I'll give a background story of how I personally started learning the Finnish and Swedish language. So I moved to Finland a couple of years ago, and the first thing that I encountered, I met a few people that told me, like, if you have to survive in this country, you need to be able to know the language, right? Hi, Glory. Is it Glorgi? You need to be able to. How are you doing? Thank you for joining the live. So when I moved to Finland, I was told that I needed to learn the language, and of course I got a lot of discouragement, like Finnish is difficult and all of that. Oh, you live in Finland too? That's nice. Thank you. That's great to know. I also live in Finland, and I think it's a very good thing. So you can actually definitely relate. Yeah. Hi. Oh, good afternoon. Thank you for joining the live. Yeah, so today I'm talking about learning languages and the importance. Oh, you speak Swedish. Babra. So, yeah. Okay, can I just ask you this question, Glory? Is it Glorgi? Yeah, it seems like it's almost Russian and English mixed together in the name. Sorry if I don't pronounce it correctly. Yeah. So I wish to ask, yes, I wish to ask, like, how did you speak Swedish, right? How did you start to learn Swedish language? Like, how long have you lived in Finland? And yeah, how managed did you just come, or and did you just, when you moved to Finland, you started learning Finnish language, the Swedish language immediately, or you had to go through a language school to be able to learn the language? I would like to know that. Yeah, because then after I'm going to share my own experience of how I learned the language. And I think Paul here speaks Arabic. So yeah, after that, if he's still on, he's gonna share with us. Oh, okay, that's nice. Oh, then that's perfect. It means your Swedish is probably very perfect than mine, okay? Because I have just been a couple of years here in Finland, so my Swedish is not really perfect. Yeah, but of course, I can use it in the working life. Jag kan prata något riktigt bra kanske, om jag säger så. Men det har varit kanske 2 år. Jag har inte använt svenska mycket eftersom nu jag bor i Helsingfors. Så jag använder mycket finska än svenska. Thank you so much. Thank you, I'm very grateful. How are you doing as well? Are you at work or... And if you don't mind, can you share with us your experience learning Arabic as well? Because I believe you speak Arabic, right? Yeah. So let's... Parian hyvin. Ah, där. No, det var bra. No. Men, så det menar att du bor inte i Helsingfors, men kanske eftersom jag vet att de pratar mycket svenska i Vasa och var andra land i Vasa, också Turku och också kanske Ålands. Men ja, men jag har lärt mig svenska när jag bor i Vasa. Jag har studerat det där i Vasa, därför jag kunde prata lite svenska. Niin, kiitos. Kiitos paljon. Peace of God. Sinä puhutkin suomia. No niin. Tervetuloa sitten. No, tack så mycket Gloria, riktigt bra för att säga det. Kanske nästa gång vi ska prata mycket. Så tack så mycket för din meddelande. Ja, riktigt bra för att säga det. Okej, ha en bra dag så. Yes, so moving back again to the conversation I was having about so when I moved to Finland, I was told that I needed to learn the language in order to be able to survive, right? Yes. And then the thing that became more interesting was that when I moved here, I learned that they had 2 languages, that's Finnish and Swedish. And I was almost caught in the middle to like decide, okay, which of the language should I learn? But I discovered that, okay, some parts of the country, the people spoke Finnish, and in other parts they spoke Swedish. So in order to be able to have free access to the country at any time whatsoever, I had to learn 2 languages. And like I said in the earlier part of this life, I had to learn the Finnish and the Swedish a little bit at different rates, since Swedish is a little bit similar to English language. So I kind of learned Swedish passively and then Finnish more actively. And yeah, at the moment, then I speak both of them. So living in Vasa also created for me an opportunity to be able to get this language quite easily, because of course in Vasa you meet people who speak Swedish and Finnish together. And then when I was a student, I go to my practice place, you get to speak both Finnish and Swedish together. So that really boosted my ability to speak both languages. And I'm so grateful today for that, because now I can go to Sweden, I can understand Norwegian because of the Swedish I learned. So it kind of really opens a lot of doors for you. So if in case you are thinking or you are still delaying to learn a language, I'm here to encourage you that make that step, take that bold step and learn the language, because definitely you won't regret it. Learning a language is also like a skill. It's a skill that, you know, would I could say cannot easily leave you, so long as you make sure to use it often as frequently as possible. So yes, around the 2-year mark, I was able to speak Finnish and Swedish almost at an intermediate level. Yes, so Finnish and Swedish I was able to speak at an intermediate level. And now that it's almost like 4 years, I can say I can speak Finnish and Swedish almost fluently. Yes, so in different contexts, I do speak those languages, and sometimes I do get to translate. Of course, not as a professional translator, but in case I find someone who needs help with those languages, like from one language to another, then it's quite easy. yeah, so those are the opportunities that come with language. You get to involve in culture, you get to freely express yourself. For example, I'm someone who likes to communicate a lot with people. So learning the language, okay. So when I moved here to Finland, the first kind of vibe I always like people, I heard a couple of people telling me like, oh, Finnish is difficult because, it has about 16 cases and all of that. So I got a lot of that information. So one thing I told myself, I had to put my mind at a specific state. I told myself that Finnish is easy. There is even a video, I had old video I made about Finnish being easy. That is because I understand that being able to, our brain works in a certain kind of way. So to be able to um, access or to unlock that door of you assimilating a foreign language, yeah, you need to be able to set your mind at a certain place that your mind would not be triggered by it. So one of the challenges that I faced was the fact that, okay, I didn't get a lot of people because I moved to Finland. That was during the COVID season. So I didn't really get to interact as much, with people and to be able to learn. I even tried to find some language buddies, but that was not really accessible because of COVID and the distance and all of that. So I how I overcame the challenge was that we had teachers in school who would give us like some tips on how to learn the language. Yeah. So when I go to my practice place, for example, I try as much as possible to speak with my supervisors in the required language that they speak, because there were times I would have supervisors who speak only Finnish and sometimes supervisors who speak only Swedish. So I would not tell them that, oh, I'll tell them, of course, that I speak this language. However, if you speak to me in the language that is your native tongue, that's either Finnish or Swedish, yeah, I'll be able to do my best to understand. So I placed myself on that pedestal on that challenge level. And before you knew it, I was able to communicate both in both languages almost easily. Yeah. So the mindset that I had was one of the things that helped me, and then also being intentional about it. I remember I also made a video, if you check on my page, I made a video about the apps you can use to learn language, because I made sure I use different apps that such as Memorize. I use I not italki, I use Memorize, I use Monthly, I used, okay, there is this other thing that our teacher recommended, that is slow. In Swedish they say svenska nyheter, nyheter på lättsvenska. So it's like you listen to the news in a slow version. So here in Finland they have like, you can listen to the news, right, but not at a fast pace. At a slower pace you can. There is a certain website, Yle Nyheter. So when you go there, you can listen to either, I think you have either Swedish or Finnish news. But at that time, because I was preparing to write the UK exam, which is the national language exam for Finland, and that is, it's almost like the IELTS in English. So when I was preparing for that, I had to listen to the Yle Nyheter på lättsvenska. So it really, really helped me to actually, acquaint myself with the natural way that people speak, because that's another thing that's very important. Sometimes you get to use language apps, for example, Duolingo and others. Sorry, no bias on Duolingo, just that, yeah. So for example, you use those apps and you almost like are using AI, right? But you don't really get, like, there are certain figure of speeches, there are certain accents, there are certain I wouldn't say, yeah, slangs, for example, that a normal person would use, but on the AI or on the app, you not usually use that. So let's say, for example, if you are learning Finnish and they have what they call puhekieli, that's like the spoken language. Of course, that is not taught in language schools, or it's not taught on the apps. But then when you go out to communicate with people in everyday life, you see people speaking in the spoken language. So I needed to be able to acquaint myself with that as well, because, for example, let's say the speaking part of the Iki, you would face that, okay, people would just be talking about some random stuff, maybe traveling, and they might use some spoken language in there, and if you are not really acquainted with that, you might miss out on what they are trying to say. So yeah, just having a mindset of diversity was what really helped me. Like, I tried not to put a bias on the language. I always received the language with joy, and I really took it seriously. I remember a certain lady, when I moved here, she told me, was like, learn this language like your life depends on it. And I can say that that really helped me, because each time I was getting a little bit lazy to learn the language, it always rang in my mind like, take this language seriously, like your life depends on it. Because, of course, just an outside story. I think when I was a student, yeah, and I was looking for a cleaning job. At some point, they couldn't give a cleaning job because they'll be capitalizing on your language. They'll be like, you cannot speak the language, so we cannot give you this job. You really imagine? Then I started asking myself like, am I supposed to be cleaning with my mouth or with my hands? So how does the language involve the cleaning? And some people would be like, okay, if they tell you go get a bucket or go mop this place in this floor and all of that, and you don't understand what they are saying, it might hinder the efficiency of your work. So yeah, so learning the language is very important. Can you give me another question if you have? Yes, same. You got to Hello everyone, you're welcome again. So for those who are just joining, we are talking about learning foreign languages. And yeah, so of course another language which I also really like, of course, I don't know if on this life is going to be a bit biased, but that was like the first foreign language that I really had to learn. And I would say that I learned it the hard way, because moving from my country where we spoke both English and French, I really did not know the importance of learning languages. And so when I moved out, and then I was like, I had to learn the language at every cost because I needed to pass exams. So that was Russian. And today, looking back, I'm so grateful that I actually had to learn Russian, yeah, because now I get to meet people almost all the time where they speak Russian or something, or Ukrainian. For example, now when I meet a lot of Ukrainians, most of them speak Russian language, and in case they need direction with something, I'm easily able to help them. So for me, it was a difficult process. I wouldn't lie, it was a very difficult process. However, it was worth it, because now I'm experiencing the benefits of actually learning these languages. Why is this not working? Oopsies. Yeah. So if you have more questions about the language learning, please guys, I'm needing your engagement. Just hold on a minute for me. Okay, so the other thing which I want to talk about when it comes to learning the language is that most of the times people tell you that you can learn a language, in 3 months. I think that would depend on a lot of different reasons. All right, but it's just about the person. Yeah, definitely. I spoke about that meeting people in real life, it's very, very essential, because the apps, they just teach you words basically. That's what the apps do, right? They just teach you the vocabulary and probably a few grammar. But when it comes to actually engaging with people, um, you need to be able to expose yourself to real life conversations. I also spoke about, for example, there is what we call puhekieli in Finnish, which is like spoken language, yeah, spoken language. So with the puhekieli, if you went to school, you wouldn't, like to a language school, you would not understand the Pohekele. But unless you've been in that milieu where the people speak those Pohekele and a bit of slangs, then you'll be able to understand them. So yes, communication with people is very, very important. How can you advise someone else who is not there to learn it? Okay, so what I would say, for example, it depends on how when you are about to come here, right? If you have plans to move to Finland, or if you just want to learn it on just a general basis. So learn it on a general basis. What I would say, you can start with the apps, because the apps gets you, it takes you on a slower pace. Like it teaches you the basic words and then basic grammar, and then if after you've learned to a certain level, you can get like online friends whom you can communicate with them directly. italki has that available, or italki is a platform, a language platform, or Hello Talk as well. Hello Talk is also free, or you can have a paid version as well, where it's almost like TikTok for me. So when I was learning the language, sometimes I would prefer to go to Hello Talk to spend my time on there, just assimilating and listening to the language rather than going on TikTok, right? Yes, because there is, I think Hello Talk is mostly about learning a particular language. So you can get on Hello Talk, sign up to any class or into any talk room that you are interested in the language, and just listen to people talk and just engage in. And if you also want to have like a physical connection with people with learning the language, then you can travel to this required country, maybe Finland, for visit. And of course, there would surely be those available programs that people come, for just maybe some exchange language programs. I remember in Russia, I had there were students who would leave maybe from Italy and come to Russia just to study the language for a couple of months and then move back. So that's also very possible. That's how you can get it. Do you think it would have been possible to learn the language if you were in your home country? I think it would have been possible to learn the language if I was in my home country. However, it wouldn't have been as easy as it was here, because of course there sometimes the availability of the people I communicate with. Say for example, I walk on the streets, I see the language written. I go to the shop, I see the language written. I get into the bus, I see the language, people talk about like you just get the language 24/7, and your subconscious mind actually starts working. Like even if you are not actively learning the language, if you definitely get something. For example, one of the famous words that people get to speak first in Finland is anteeksi. Anteeksi is almost like or hiva huomenta. So anteeksi is like excuse me, sorry. So most of the time something happens, someone's like anteeksi, anteeksi. Maybe you are on the metro and someone needs to go past you. The person's like anteeksi, like excuse me, give me way. So you will definitely learn the language, so long as, except you are walking around with earphones and closing your ears. But if you are just walking around, being in the country, you definitely learn the language. Yes, I'm seeing your questions and I'm answering them. I don't know if it's that the answers are coming a little bit late. I'm actually seeing your questions and answering them. I don't know if it's like they're coming a little bit late. I don't know what's happening. Can you hear me when I'm speaking? Because I think I've answered all your questions. If you can hear me, let's see. I don't know what's happening. I'm so sorry about that. But I've been trying to answer your questions as much as I can. I've been answering your questions. Check my questions. I'm really sorry. I don't know what's happening now. But can you hear me when I'm talking? Is it possible? Are you hearing me? Because I don't know what's happening. So I don't know, from where did you want me to start? Again, answering the questions. can't really. Hello, that's Atari. Hello, how are you doing? I hope you're doing very well. Yeah, and if I may ask, do you speak Arabic? If you speak Arabic, maybe you share with us your experience, how you speak Arabic. Yeah. Oh, you're fine. That's nice. That's good to know. Happy to have you here. So, peace of God. I think so. I think so. Well, I think from your name, that's how I was able to know that you probably speak Arabic. Yeah. I think I've gotten a little bit used to the Muslim names somehow. Yeah. So that's how actually it was just a guest. Yeah. It's Osam. Okay, hi Osam. Yeah. So I'm really sorry, peace of God. I was trying to answer your questions. I'm not sure if you went out of the live, then you were unable to hear when I was answering the questions, or probably I don't know what happened because I did answer your questions. So if you are still there, you can just send me a thumbs up and then I'm going to repeat the answers to the question again. So you spoke about, all right, but you know it's not just about the app, you also need to be able to communicate with humans. Yes, so I was talking about the importance of learning a language with humans. Yeah. So what the app does for you is basically just to teach you the vocabulary, basic vocabulary, and a little bit of grammar. Yeah. But when it comes to actually being fluent in the language, you definitely have to make sure you engage with like people. It could be native speakers, it could be people who are fluent in the language. Yeah. So the reason for doing this is because there is what we call in Finnish language puhekieli. So puhekieli is like the spoken language, and most of the times when you go to a language school, what they will do is just they will teach you the grammar and all of those things. But when you get into the society, you see that people use there's certain words they use that are not normally in the books. Yeah. So to be able to understand that kind of conversations, you need to be able to immerse yourself in the environment where people speak that particular language. And every single language has its own, like, not necessarily slangs, but its own spoken language. Yeah, which the native people speak it. For example, if you're learning Spanish, it is the same Spanish, but then people in Brazil speak a little bit differently. People in Spain speak it a little bit differently. In Ecuador, they speak it a little bit differently. So depending on your interest, you should be able to find a way to get that environment. And if you are living in a country other than the native country where the language you are interested to learn is, you definitely have to probably find some online friends with whom you can communicate in that particular language. Or if you have the opportunity to travel a couple of times to that language, spend a couple of months there and just immerse yourself in the culture and in the language, that's going to help you to actually not end with the apps but become fluent in the language. um That is actually a very tricky question. Yeah, because I think, well, what I would say is that with the language, you are able to defend yourself somehow. Say, for example, something happens, and if I think the racial issue would be higher if you cannot speak the language. But if you can speak the language, at least to some extent you'll be able to defend yourself, right? Let's say something happens, let's say in the public space, and someone is acting wrongly towards you, you will be able to call up that person and tell them, like, hey, you have done this which is wrong, or hey, you are not supposed to do this to me. You get, because at least you're able to confront the person. But if the person notices that, okay, you cannot defend yourself, you cannot say anything, yeah, it would be just it would be so frustrating. And I personally had that kind of experience when when I was still learning Finnish, and I am in a situation where I need to express what is in my heart, but I'm unable to do that because I'm like the words is just missing. So Niku, many ohi, it's so difficult. But then when you are able to, you have the words up your sleeve, you are able to talk. I remember even at some point my colleagues were like, ah, Rhoda, your language, because the bonus comes, you become more confident in the language, you express yourself better. And so yeah, I think the racial issue, well, for a country which is very racial-ish, you will definitely face that. However, to some extent, you'll be able to defend yourself. That's what I can say. Also, more, how do the native of those languages feel when you speak with them in their native language? Okay, so I would say I'll compare both. I think in Russia, of course, and here in Finland, yeah. So a majority of the people, when they find that you can speak their language, it's almost like a light bulb experience. They are usually attracted, they are usually so happy with it, right? So for example, I'll use my experience. I have been just a couple of years here, but I've had countless times people asking me if I was born here in Finland, and I'm like, no, I was not born here in Finland. And so a greater shock or a greater surprise is that sometimes I speak both languages, yeah, and there are people in this country who cannot speak both languages. They either speak Finnish or Swedish. So coming up as someone who speaks both languages, it's almost like a wow experience, yeah. And so for me, it just gives that good feeling, yeah. So whenever you meet people, or whenever I meet people where I speak their language, for example, Russian or Finnish or Swedish, yeah, it's always a good kind of interaction, because they are like, oh wow, you're able to speak this language so well, and you have been here just a couple of years. And sometimes I get some of them saying, oh, they have been born here, but they cannot speak Finnish to save their life, or even Swedish to save their lives, yeah. But you who just came, you're able to speak. So it actually creates that atmosphere of further conversation, basically. So yeah, getting the language and be able to speak it, it's a great advantage. Thank you so much, Peace of God, for really engaging in this video. I'm very, very, very grateful. So Peace of God, if I would ask, what languages do you speak and how did you learn them? Or are you interested to learn any specific language? So yeah. So I would say that for now, one of the other challenge which I forgot to make mention about is the challenge of actually switching languages. That is something that I didn't know existed until I found myself in that shoe. So for example, I could have like switching language. Maybe say you meet someone and excuse me, my voice is a little bit hoarse because I've been working the whole night and I've been using my voice quite much. So just give me a minute. So yeah, I get to meet a couple of people who say, for example, you meet someone and you are speaking in English with the person, and then the person gets to discover that, okay, you can speak Finnish or Swedish, and then the person is like, can you say something in Finnish? Can you say something in Swedish? That scenario is really usually so funny, because it's like your brain has to kind of like switch from the language you are currently using to the next language, which I think is also a skill that not everyone is able to do that. And I give kudos to translators who do that, like direct translation. If you are to settle in your so what I would say is that it actually depends on the way you see life, because with my understanding of language, right, It's like a key that opens the door to the whole world. So even if I'm to settle in any country, just like I am communicating with you guys right now from different parts of the world in English language, I could still use the language to communicate with different people from different countries as well in the language, because language is basically just being able to communicate with people, even probably if you're having an audio call or you're having a physical call or meeting. So I would still definitely be able to use these languages. So it just depends on your perspective. If you want to limit yourself to learning the language just, on a one-on-one basis, then that is going to be a little bit difficult, because except maybe you have, like, maybe you are working in a company where you have clients coming in who they speak that kind of language, or you have business partners who speak that language. But then if you have a very diverse mindset, you'll be able to, for example, offer language. You can teach the language, for example, if you are very, very good at it, or you can communicate, you can translate for people. So it's not really, location doesn't really matter with language for me. Yes, dear sister, you are speaking English quite fluent. How do you learn English? Okay. Okay, I would say, even though my country, Cameroon, is known to speak both English and Finnish. I'm sorry, English and French. So my country, I come from Cameroon, so Cameroon is known to speak both English and French. So sometimes we are almost in between, like calling ourselves native or not native. But yeah, I'll call myself native because English is my first language, yeah? So English is my first language. So I've been using English since I was born, throughout preschool, secondary school, and all the way even to university level. So that is why I'm able to speak English very fluently. And yeah. So I think I answered your question, Atari. Yeah. And also, now, still on the English aspect, there was something I discovered when I started learning the new language, for example, Russian, Finnish, and Swedish. Yeah. I noticed at some point that my language became somewhat rugged, not really fluent. But then I told myself that I cannot be learning another person's language then while allowing my own personal language, that's like my own mother tongue, English language, to be bad, because that wouldn't make sense, right? Because to be like, okay, English is my first language, but then I cannot speak English very well. That doesn't make sense, because with language, whatever language that you are using consistently, that's what becomes at the frontal lobe of your brain. That's what becomes like your first language. It becomes so used to or acquainted to it. So I had to start making sure that I read books in English. I actually watch like TV shows. I actually immerse myself into still maintaining my language as well. So before I'll answer your question, then I'll get back to how I was able to maintain all of these languages, because I learned these languages in different years. However, I'm still able to keep the balance of the language still at a similar level. So how do you, if you are someone who speaks 3, 4, 5 languages, how are you able to keep the language at the same level? So, right, you have studied in university, that's why you have fluent. Yeah, definitely. I've studied in the university, and that's why I'm able to speak English fluently. And also, I'm able to speak Russian fluently because I studied in the university in Russian. So that's why the language, studying the language to a certain level really helps you to be able to achieve that. So French, Hindi, and interested to learn Finnish. Oh, that's interesting. So if you are interested to learn Finnish, I'm gonna just if you haven't subscribed, please make sure to subscribe, so that there will be days I would have classes for Finnish, like just a conversation class or conversation live video where we can be able to talk about basic words in Finnish, so you get to learn. And I'm gonna teach you how you can learn these languages, because there is so much information out there, but you need to have a structure on how to go about learning the language, and then it's gonna really help. More also, you won't speak yourself of a science program. now you find yourself more interested in linguistics. Do you think if you were given something? Okay, so thank you so much, peace of God, for this question. So one thing I would say is that usually, if you observe your life from when you're a child, there are so many things that during your childhood or the way children play and interact around the house, it speaks a lot about their inbuilt abilities. Yeah, because growing up, initially, before I went into the science programs, growing up, let's say around the age of 8, 10 ish, about, I was very interested in speaking. Yeah, so I used to think like, okay, maybe one day I'm gonna grow to be a teacher or probably a journalist, because I noticed that time I would usually be taking part into debates and reading the news, for example, in church service or in children's program. I would always be the lead journalist. Yeah. So with that, I thought I was so good in language already, but then I didn't have the proper guidance. So that was the thing that I lacked. If I had proper guidance, I probably should have learned German by then and Spanish by then, which I'm trying to learn now. So I think it was more of like the skills or the talents to learn language was there, but I didn't have that knowledge. I didn't have someone to coach me. I didn't have someone to really see that, oh, this child is actually good in language learning. So let's build this skill, let's build this character up. So now growing up and then trying to, look at my inner self and try to evaluate, okay, what are the things I'm interested in? Then I found out that, okay, I actually had this language ability in me, which I didn't know, because basically the way I learned this language is, the only language I think I went to school to learn was Russian. But then Finnish and Swedish, I just learned, basically like on the, well, I don't want to say on the street, but it just came to me naturally, because I just needed to hear people say the language and then it becomes part of me and I speak it almost like, fluently. You find more pleasure and excitement in language more than your career? No, I wouldn't say that. I think that as a human being, right, it's more of like a combination of everything together. So in my career, right, I'm a nurse, and that's what this channel mostly is about. So in my career as a nurse, I find more pleasure because for me, the language skills help me to interact more. I have patients coming from different countries. For example, if I have patients who came to Finland to visit and they probably had an accident or something and they find themselves in the hospital. And then some of these patients cannot speak Finnish or Swedish, but with my ability to be able to speak a little bit of French and Russian and all of these things, I'm able to give them the care that they deserve, because in the care system, that's a holistic care. The patient has to be involved in their care process, right? So being able to tell the patient, oh, this is what the doctor has said, this is the situation with your condition at the moment, this is what we have to do in the patient's own language, it actually helps them to feel safe. Say, for example, someone left another country and they find themselves in Finland, they have no relative, they have no support system, nothing. And then they meet this nurse, that is me, who can speak in their native tongue. There is so much security, they feel so safe because someone can actually understand them. So that's how I kind of view it, that yes, my career is a nurse. However, my ability to involve my language or linguistic skills in offering care is what even makes the care more specific or more I don't know, more good. Yeah. Say, if you find more pleasure, okay, only 9 lives in 1 year. Yes, sister. So you have only 9 lives in 1 year. Dear sister, why do you live very less? Really? Oh, you think I'm living less? Okay, so I think you will suggest for me how best I can live better. Yeah, because of course I believe that every day we are just discovering how You just discover yourself every day. So unless someone gets into that space of actually being interested to learn about yourself, to learn about who really am I, what do I like, what are my skills, what are my talents, how can I harness and make my life purposeful, then you'll be able to live your best life. And yeah, for you pointing this out, I think probably you should probably give me some suggestions on how I should live better. Yeah, because I think I'm doing, yeah, of course I'm not doing, I'm not yet there, but I'm taking one step at a time. You have only 9 lives. Okay, you're talking about live sessions. Oh, so would you want me to do more live sessions? If that's so, then okay, I'm gonna do that. So tomorrow again, I'm gonna come again for another live session. I'm talking about YouTube live sessions. Okay. Thank you so much, because I was getting a bit confused on what exactly you were talking about. So yes, if you want me to, I think it's recently that I discovered this YouTube live sessions, how important it is. Yeah, so because previously I would just upload videos and I wouldn't do a lot of live, but with the engagement I'm getting right now, I think I'll be doing more. So let me just say tomorrow again, I'll be doing another live, and it would depend. I could be talking on a different topic or still on language learning. Just depends on what my audience are looking for. Yeah, because I'm here to give out knowledge. I'm here to give advice. I'm here to give whatever you need. Yeah, concerning language and life in general. Yeah. Yeah, so I think having the life is very important, which I'm looking forward to engaging very much on it. Thank you so much, everyone, for really engaging in this live session. I'm really, really grateful. So, and also being able to read the questions and answers simultaneously is not it's not very easy, but I'm doing my best. I think I'm getting the hang of it, like how this live session actually works. Thank you, everyone. If you are new here joining me, you're very much welcome, and I'm grateful to have you all. Yeah. So yeah, so currently right now, after having discovered the importance of learning languages, yeah, I think of course I would want to learn other languages. Like for example, I've been so interested in learning Korean, and I think with my experience of learning the language, I just need to find myself in that position where I get to learn the language, or probably find an online space, for example, like I mentioned on Hello Talk, where I get to meet people speaking that particular language. So I have two language in mind which I'm actually contemplating if I should learn. I have Korean and I have Spanish. So now with Spanish, it's almost similar to French. So I'm a little bit drawn to it compared to Korean. What would you guys have me do? I need your suggestions. What do you think? Spanish or Korean? Oh, I'm so happy to hear that, Atari. Thank you so much. I'm happy to talk to you as well. It's so nice to have you guys here. And I'm glad that you are enjoying this session. You are really enjoying yourself as well. Yes, so we get to this question, Spanish or Korean. Which one would you have me learn? So I think when definitely I've decided on which language I would be taking, then I would gradually be sharing with you my journey on the language I'm learning. Yeah, because I remember when I started learning Finnish and Swedish, it was a little bit challenging because I was learning the two languages at the same time. So, but then it was worth it. So one thing I also learned about learning a language is, if you want to learn two languages at the same time, that would depend on your capacity though. If you think you are up to the task to learn two languages simultaneously, then go for it. But if you think it's not very possible for you, I would advise just take one at a time, spend some time, learn it to a certain level, and then you move to the next. So, but for me, I've actually had the experience learning different languages. So for me, I think learning two languages simultaneously might not really be big of an issue. So let's say Spanish or Korean. I think for now, I just know with Spanish, I can understand a little more of Spanish. Then South Korean, I only know a few words. We just say like greeting words, for example, like annyeonghaseyo. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, yeah. But I think I like South Korea very well. And that was, I think, okay, talking about my love for languages. I started learning, or I started liking or desiring to learn Korean. Aside from the language and job, do you have other? Well, I do sing. I do sing, and I do make hair. I just do a lot of things. I'm actually that kind of a person that, one will be like jack of all trades. However, there is this, I recently discovered the full quote that says jack of all trade, master of none, but is oftentimes better than a master of one. So it definitely means, because in the past I used to think like, oh my god, I have so many interests, how do I manage them into something productive? And yeah, I'm actually discovering them now, one after the other. No, why do you do less live videos? Okay, like I said previously, I thought I didn't have so much audience to be able to do a live video, because live videos actually are so, well, it's interesting when you have like engagement, like how I'm having now today. Yeah, so but that's how I thought before, but then I actually had to push myself through to do more of live videos, and I think I have been a little bit consistent in the past 1 month. Yeah, I've tried to be doing live videos. Of course, I can't do live videos every single day because of job and personal life stuff, but I'll try to do at least one live or two live videos every week, depending on the engagement as well. So guys, please make sure to keep subscribing, keep sharing this channel, so that when I'm on live we can all engage and have a good time. She said, why do you do less? Yeah, so that's the reason. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry, guys, that I've not been able to do a lot of live videos. But yeah, I'm making a promise to you all that I'll try to do a lot more live videos. Yeah. And so you guys have to also support me by sharing, subscribing, and engaging with me in the live videos, because it wouldn't be nice that I come on live and then I'm talking to myself, right? Yeah, so if I'm able to have you guys here with me on live, and we would have the conversation going and the live will be interesting and we all will feel great. Yes, and another thing, aside from language, do you see you have another driving forces? Oh, yes, I think I answered that question already a couple of minutes ago. Like I said, I'm one of those people that there is this quote that says, jack of all trade, master of none, but oftentimes is better than a master of one. Yeah, so I'm that jack of all trades because I do a lot of things, different things. For example, I have my job, that's my career, of course, it pays the bills. I do sing and I'm doing YouTube, and yeah, I give advice, I coach, I direct, not direct, but I give advice. I could counsel you if you need my counseling, of course, one-on-one session, of course. But however, even though some of those things are not really placed into the limelight for now, because I haven't really created a structure for that, because one of the things is that it's not, well, I am not the kind of person to just, I try to at least get structure. It helps me think and focus better. Yes. So when I get better structures for some of those things, then I'll bring them out to the limelight. Yeah. So I hope I answered your question. Peace of God. Or maybe, do you have any suggestion for me what other thing I could engage in. Oh, actually, well, those ones are like just personal stuff, how to keep engaged, because of course we live in Finland. The last time I made a live video, I was talking about Finland and nature. Oh, okay. So I've gotten one vote. I think in my next live, in the next tomorrow when I'll be doing live videos, I'll put a poll up to see the votes for those who want me to learn Spanish or who want me to learn Korean. So peace of God, why do you think I should learn Spanish? Of course, I have a little bit of research about that, why you should learn Spanish first, but Korean is also very interesting. Yeah, so like I said, the last time when I did the live video, I was talking about um, Finland and its weather or the nature of Finland. So very soon we'll be moving to autumn and then winter. So I'll be doing more lives then because I can't, the weather will usually be, the atmosphere will be usually be dark. We have more dark days than a bright days. So with that regards, I'll be doing more lives in winter because yeah, that would help very much compared to doing videos. Yeah, so that's my promise to you guys. And yeah, if there are other things that you want me to be talking about on the live, so that let's brainstorm together, just also write it for me in the chat and I'll quickly jot it down. I'll quickly jot that down so that each time we come on live, we have something very interesting, very specific and beneficial to you guys as well to discuss on it, so that I don't only talk about things that I am interested in, but also we'll talk about things that would benefit you, would interest you as well. Does that make sense? Probably. Okay, so learning Spanish. Now, I kind of like put a little bit because right now I don't really have like so much time as before that I would want to learn a language. Of course, I want to do less time and I want to do less time yet achieve the same goal. So let's say, for example, I used 2 years to learn 2 languages. So I would say probably a year to learn both languages, Finnish and Swedish. So now I'm trying to get myself on a challenge to learn Spanish probably in 3 to 6 months. However, another thing which I notice is that when it comes to learning a language, right, there are different levels of learning the language. So the length of time that you use in learning the language will determine on how effective or the level of the language. Say, for example, what they usually tell people on the internet, like, oh, spend 3 months to learn a language. I think they are basically talking about spending that 3 months to learn the language to an intermediate, to a basic level, let's say A2, where you are able to hear a little bit of conversations, you're able to make few sentences. But then if you want to get to the level of being able to have a full-blown conversation with people like native speakers at a normal pace, then probably you will need like at least 6 months to a year. And also that would determine on how intense you're actually studying. Do you study 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, an hour a day, all of those things every day of the week? Or do you just study the language at random? And also other factors that come into play. Are you exposed to the language constantly? For example, do you find yourself in that environment where the language is being spoken, or do you have like a language body? Because I also have an experience of someone who learned Spanish without actually going to a school. So this person actually learned the language without actually going to the school. And how they did this was because he immersed himself in an environment where people spoke Spanish. They ate Spanish, like they watched Spanish movies. So everything was Spanish around him. So before it was like 1 to 2 years, he was able to speak Spanish very well. And speaking right now, I'm almost like regretting why I didn't follow them to study Spanish at that time. But then of course at that moment I was learning Russian, and Russian is not an easy language to learn. So it needed my focus, my attention, and a lot more. So I wouldn't really blame myself so much for not learning Spanish at that time. However, there is life and there is hope. So I'm still gonna learn Spanish either way. Uh-huh. Well, I think that's a little bit personal question, but let me just add a bit of light to it. So, well, learning language is my stuff, is my way of expressing myself. So I wouldn't say that one of the criteria that I want to marry somebody is because they speak a language. Of course, if they speak or they are interested in learning languages as a hobby, as myself, or are interested in, that would be a bonus, right? So I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind. But one of the things that I have actually thought about is that, for example, when people are raising kids, nowadays it's very, very important to have children, or you have to have children who can speak at least three languages. Of course, two or three foreign languages, like their native language, wherever country they are in, and two other foreign languages. It's going to open a lot of doors for them. For example, I'll take an example of, now, if I say I want to look for a new job, I am not so worried about, okay, how I would get the job, because of the language skills is something that actually boosts your portfolio. So that is something that parents need to also kind of like encourage their children to learn the language. And it's very easy for children to start learning languages from a younger age. So that would be a good thing. So yeah, still your second question is still part of it, and I think I've already answered it. So learning a language is just my stuff. Like I said, it's my way of expressing myself. It's my way that is my kind of lens of viewing the world. Say for example, I like interacting, I like traveling, I like communicating with people. That is why, or one of the reasons why I'm interested in language. And I like also helping people. Say for example, I want to join an NGO, right? And we are supposed to go to a certain suburb somewhere, and they don't speak English language. However, they speak a certain language that I know. It's for me like a great joy that I'll be able to be the middleman to communicate between the NGO and these people. So that's just basically, and this is something like, it's just like a hobby or something I can do almost not being paid. I just love doing it, and it gives me that kind of like energy to do it. So basically, I wouldn't force that on some other person that they have to learn a language like myself. But then if someone speaks the language I speak, I would really love it because it's just good. Yeah. Say for example, now I meet someone who speaks Swedish, for example. We just switch, and it just feels nice to be able to switch languages. Say for example, om jag vill prata på svenska nu. Jag vet att ni inte förstår vad som jag pratar, men jag pratar på svenska. So I just spoke in Swedish right now, and if I want to move now to Russian, I would be like, no, здравствуйте всем, я очень рада, что вы с нами там сейчас в этого ливе, и я очень благодарю, что вы меня помогаете, чтобы я повышаю этого сферу моей жизни. That was Russian, and now if I want to go to Finnish, I would say, no ne kiitos kaikille, että tänään on ihan hyvä päivä. Nyt kello on 7:04 ja mä oon ollut täällä liivessä noin tunnin ja 6 ja 8 minuuttia. Niinpä. Ja se oli ihan hyvin. Kiitos tänään, että te olette auttanut minulle. Like I said, that is basically on each, I need to get a mic. My mic is bad. My throat is hurting. I've spoken so much. Like I've been speaking yesterday, I was talking for like 13 hours. Yeah. And now I'm talking again on this live. However, sorry, I'm just throwing that out there. But I need to get a mic. I've gotten 2 mics, and for some reason they don't work. I don't know why, but I just hope I can get a mic so that when I do lives, you guys can hear me clearly and better. I definitely have a lot of people, because I definitely have a lot of people. So for example, I have people whom I've encouraged. For example, when I was in school, and I have other juniors who came after me, and they just them seeing me that I'm able to excel in my language learning served as an encouragement to them. And I know of one of them who actually followed my footsteps. He asked of advice from me, and I told him this is what you should do, learn the language. And now he's soon to be graduating. He already has a job. Yeah, because one thing I noticed is that in these European countries, language is like the key. Yeah, so I encouraged him to learn the language, and each time he sees me, he's very, very happy because he followed the advice I gave and he's able to land himself a job. Yeah, even before graduation. Which is, so there are a lot, that's just an example, but there are a lot more other people that I've had people write me from LinkedIn asking for my assistance on how to learn the language, especially when it has to do with Finnish or Swedish language. Because there was one thing that in Finland, if you need to get like a good job, for example, you need to be able to prove your language capacity. Hi Zoe, thank you for joining. Oopsies. You need to be able to prove your language capacity, and like I mentioned at the earlier minutes of this live, I made mention about what we call Uki. So Uki is like IELTS in Finnish or Swedish language. So it's something that before, like for example, if you graduated and you're looking for a job, sometimes in healthcare or in other fields, they'll ask you like, you need to prove your language proficiency. And to be able to write that exam, you need to learn. So that's something that I get people asking me, like, how can they be able to do that? Of course, that's still another part of this language journey of mine that I'm looking forward to create a system to help people to be able to achieve that as well, because it's not easy. I remember personally, since the language came a little bit easier for me, I didn't struggle so much to write the exam and pass, but I know of people who have struggled to write it once, twice, or even 3 times. Yeah, so I wish I can be able to have that kind of system to be able to teach people to succeed in that area as well. How far do you intend to go? We know learning never stops, but okay. So I'm going to read your question aloud. Oh, thank you so much, Kaisha. I'm going to read your question aloud so that every other person would hear. Okay, how far do you intend to go? We know learning never stops, but do you have a benchmark that you said when I'm once I'm complete, I will done, or just want to keep learning? Okay, so I personally have a certain philosophy. Thank you so much. Thank you. You love my hair. Thank you. So I personally have this philosophy. I remember while growing up in preschool or in primary school, there was a certain book, and on top of that book it wrote learning never ends. And that actually was like a light bulb moment for me, that learning never ends. And I kind of like placed that in my mind, like learning never ends. And the good thing about life is that, or about our brain, is that the more you learn, the neurons in your brain, they grow, they increase connections. So instead, the more you learn, the more you can learn. So well, as much as I can learn, I will just keep learning so long as the brain is not tired. Yeah. So for example, okay, now I speak like 4 or 5 languages, yeah, and I'm not saying, okay, I'm gonna stop there. If I'm able to like learn another language, for example, Spanish, as you guys have also suggested, why not? I would learn it. And the more I learn Spanish, it opens another door for me. I learned Korean, it opens another door for me. I learned different skills as well. So yeah, basically, so learning never ends. And I'm also encouraging you to, whatever you are interested to learn, it could be you are interested to do arts, probably singing, music, or dancing, whatever thing you can learn to make your life fulfilled, to make your presence on this earth relevant, then do it. Because of course you are gonna feel so fulfilled. Say for example, now I'm talking about language. This is something that I can talk about for hours because it's almost like part of me. I don't get tired of talking about learning language or speaking a different language. So find your passion, find what moves you, what drives you, and pursue it with everything that you got, because of course at the end of the day it's gonna be a win-win for you and for the world at large around you. Yeah, so yeah, basically the only thing I'm hoping, well, not like hoping, but I've actually been working on, because one of the challenge, I remember the other day I was doing a research, and there are people who speak 15, 20 languages, and I was like, I was just talking to myself like, oh my god, and I speak only 5. So it means there is still possibility to go to learn more. If some people can speak 10 languages, 15, 20, and you are speaking 5 or 10, it means there is a possibility to learn. So it just requires the time you are ready to invest in learning the language, because of course learning a language doesn't just, you don't just sleep on your bed and it comes. You have to be able to put in the work, like we also mentioned, how you get to learn all these languages, how you actually maintain them, because learning the language is one thing, maintaining them is another. Because I know of people who would say, oh, they learned a certain language when they were in secondary school, they learned a certain language when they were in the university, but after you, they cannot speak the language anymore, right? They cannot speak the language anymore. And you start to ask yourself, like, how is that possible? That is because they didn't continuously refine the language. So one challenge that language or polyglots face is being able to maintain that level of language. For example, the way I used to speak Russian in the past, the way I used to speak Russian before I left Russia, it was really better. But when I moved here and I started focusing on another language, it kind of dropped. So I was like, I had to wake myself up. I'm like, sorry, we have to keep this language constant. And so that is also another thing that I could teach still on language learning, how you can be able to maintain your language level, so that you don't just learn and forget. Once you move to the next language, you forget the previous language. No, you don't want to do that. You want to be able to carry all the language with you along. And how do you do that? You do that by constantly, whatever works for you. If you want to listen to music in that particular language, you do it. If you want to read books in that language, if you want to watch podcasts or listen to podcasts, you want to travel to the country or have friends that you actually communicate with them. Because, for example, I have made sure to surround myself with people who speak either Swedish or Finnish or Russian, such that from time to time I get to speak with them and I'm able to keep that language alive. Otherwise, if you just don't use the language at all for like 3 to 6 months, before you know it, you start forgetting some words, you start forgetting some grammars, because of course it's not your native language, right? It's a foreign language that you've learned. So you need to be able to take an extra step to be able to keep it. Okay, I have been talking for 1 hour. Let me take a break. A water break. Now I see the importance of public speaking. Actually, I'm a public speaker right now because I've been talking for like an hour. So I could literally give a TED talk about language learning. Yeah. So another thing, for example, one thing that also worked with me. So basically, I would say that discovering yourself, knowing yourself, and what works for you is also very, very important. So for me, I realized that I was also prone to music. So I love learning music, or I love listening to music. So when I engage music and a language, it actually flows so easily for me. So I remember in each language I've learned, like intentionally learned, I have a song, like my first song that I had to learn. Say, for example, when I was learning Russian, I learned this song. Отпускаю все мечты мои, я полагаю и вновь твои. Hello, Tata. Good afternoon. I'm happy to see you here. Thank you for joining. I'm doing okay. So, today we are having a session about language learning, and over an hour and 19 minutes, we have been talking about language learning. And as someone who is interested to move to Finland, I think these live sessions are going to interest you because we will be talking and delving more into how you can learn Finnish or Swedish while you are still in your country preparing to move to Finland. So please just give me a few minutes. I'll be back. So I think another question came for me. Okay, guys, I'm back. I just had to take a quick break. Tell us, how did you get here? Do you have any mentor? Do you have anyone who encourage you and push you even when you feel as giving up? So, do you mean like a mentor regarding language learning or generally? Because, well, for language learning, it's actually a story of its own. So, I've been mentioning time and time again, the first official language I had to learn, like intentionally, or would I say forcefully, was Russian language. And I had to learn that language because I had to study. Yes. So I didn't have any mentor. I just had myself and the push, because of course you have to, if you are supposed to go um if you're supposed to go to the university and you have to write CAs, you have to write exams, and in Russia they gave exams in the form of like one-on-one conversation. So you need to be able to, your language game needs to be at a certain level for you to actually get a pass. So I had to, it was difficult, I would say. There are many times that I would feel sad and discouraged about it because at that time I had not learned the skill or the techniques in order to be able to learn a language well. So I had a lot of ups and downs, and I just had to push through because there was no other way than to learn the language and get it going. So yeah, I didn't have a mentor and I don't have a mentor for learning languages as well. But if you want to be a mentor or you have someone you want to suggest for me, why not? I'll gladly look into that. Yeah. But I think a mentor for language would probably be someone who speaks 20 languages right now. So I'll be able to ask them how they are able to keep the 20 languages going simultaneously, because my issue right now is not just about learning the language, but being able to constantly keep the language at a fluent level. Okay, Tata, for that question, what I would say is that Finland has now made it possible that if you get an admission, you can move with your family. So definitely, if you get once, so long you get an admission, and you're applying for your visa, you definitely include your child in it, and they will give you, both you and your child, a permit, so the child can come to Finland with you and then will be able to study. Or if you think maybe having the child and going to school would be stressful for you, then maybe you'd want to consider some other way. But I know that there are opportunities now that once you get an admission and you get the visa to move to Finland, you can move together with your family. So yeah, that's very okay. It's not really, yeah. I hope you heard me and I answered your question. So yeah, you don't really have to worry so much about that. You just need to make sure you get the admission. Yeah, and that will be fine. Oh, it's all right. My pleasure. My pleasure. So have you started preparing? Okay, like the last time we spoke, you made mention that you were looking towards the application because now it's September. Yeah, oh my God, September is already halfway through. The way days are running, it's unbelievable, really. It's unbelievable how the days are running. So, yes, yes, please. And try to do it as fast as possible. As fast as possible. So, because right now, the only challenge with Finland right now is that a lot of laws are changing. I'm not sure why, but I think after the new presidents, then a lot of things really changed. I'm praying for my IELTS exam. That's congratulations to you. Had it been TikTok, I would give you a claps like the clap, but then we don't have it on TikTok, on YouTube. So yes, I'm happy that you're already preparing because they say proper preparation prevents poor performance. So getting your outs in place, it's the best thing you can do. And I would say that once you have gotten the outs settled out, try to start learning, decide on which language you want to learn, either Finnish or Swedish, which of the language you want to learn, so that you start already you start learning the basics of those language as well. And I had in mind to also make a couple of videos about like basic nursing or words, basic or maybe basic language, Finnish language or Swedish language, but that will also depends on what my audience require, so that I don't put out content which is not interesting for you guys. Yes, but I think I have most people who are also interested in coming to do nursing, so it will be a good thing if they actually get such a video where they can learn. For example, every day I get to meet or I get to encounter a lot of those words, for example, but if you guys get it, it's going to really help you so that you know at least you have like probably a list of 100 words, nursing words that you need to know. So even before you move here, it's going to really facilitate a lot of things for you. Yeah. Okay. Do you also have like other friends who plan to apply for the January application as well? Data? Is anyone applying with you as well? Friends, family? So, okay, for now you're applying alone, but that's all right. That's okay. Just take your time. I'm so, so proud of you, what you're already doing. It shows you are so determined. And in case, like I said the other time, if you have any personal question, any questions, just ask. Okay, that's fine. that's fine. I think each and every person has their own perspective. But one thing I would say for you, Tata, is that if you are looking to settle in Finland, that's a good option for you and your kid, because here children don't pay fees, which is something that is going to really lighten the burden on you. So even if you are paying for your education by yourself, at least you wouldn't have to bother about your child's daycare fee or certain things. Yeah. In the past, the system was even more better, that you get some benefits for children, but I don't know so much how it is now because the laws have really, really changed a lot. But at least it's still going on that children don't pay fees. So in Finland, children are not paying. You don't pay fees. Yeah, my friend. Okay. Okay. I think I should be rounding up with this live soon. Yeah, but that said, thank you all so much. Like, I'm super happy. I'm super grateful for you all, for your support, for your engagement. Yeah, Finland is great for family. That's one of the reasons I decided to move to Finland. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, thank you so much as well. I really wish you the best, and hopefully when you move to Finland, I'm gonna see you. Yeah, I really hope you get everything good. Yeah, I wish you all the best as well. And thank you each and everyone for watching with me or for engaging with me through this 1 hour and 30 minutes of this live session. I'm very grateful. Tomorrow again, I'll be live tomorrow, however a little bit earlier, because I started today around 4 p.m. finish time. So I'm gonna be earlier. I'm gonna come on live a little bit earlier, and I'm gonna put a post so that you all know what time I'm coming to do the live. Yes, with that said, thank you all so much for your time, and I wish you all the best. Have a wonderful day ahead of you. Enjoy, learn language, any language of your choice. Just enjoy life, enjoy nature as well, because that is another thing that really is therapeutic. So thank you all so much, and yeah, see you tomorrow, Tata. See you tomorrow. And if there are other questions you have for me tomorrow, just come with it. Yeah, come with it so that we start with your questions immediately. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm so grateful, and I wish you all the best. Bye, guys. See you again tomorrow. And with that said, the live has come to an end.